A lot of people ask me like, how do you look so like flawless and airbrushed in real life? And then like they'll come look at my skin and be like, oh my gosh, like it still looks like skin. And I feel like this is my secret. Hello, my friends. I hope you're having a fabulous day. Listen, there's been a common theme amongst my friends and family lately, and it has really got me puzzled because I tend to be the go-to gal for makeup questions and product recommendations in my family, which I love, obviously. This is like what I do for a living. It's the category I'm obsessed with, so I do feel like I have a product recommendation for any person's concerns. I've noticed a theme though with a lot of my friends and family members. Everyone's scared of powder. Why is everybody scared of powder? Okay, because I feel like it's a contrast because people will ask me like, wait, how do you look so flawless in person? Like you look airbrushed, but it doesn't look heavy. And in my mind, I'm like, it's powder. Or people are like, how do I make my makeup last? Powder. How do I stop my under eye concealer from creasing throughout the day? Powder. But then everyone's scared to use it. Like nobody has powder in their routine, or they feel like if they use powder, it's gonna look like a dry, cakey, cracked mess. I'm here to tell you right now, I'm gonna debunk that right now. Best of both worlds. Powder is the key for longevity with makeup. Powder is, I feel like, my secret sauce, my secret weapon to making your makeup look amazing all day, like for hours, but there's a way to do it where it doesn't look or feel heavy on the skin. I think that's what everyone's afraid of. Nobody wants to look dusty, okay? So people have a hard time picturing powder not looking powdery, but let me show you how to do it. I've kind of coined this technique, and when I explain it to my family and friends, I tell them it's like my sandwich method. You've got to create a little powder sandwich, and I will show you how exactly to do that. You guys know I've got my personal faves when it comes to specific products. I do stand behind all these products that I'm going to use. However, it's very important to also assess your own situation and think about what your skin type is, what exactly you're looking for when it comes to how to improve your makeup. Like, you got to just assess your own things so that you know how to exactly adjust. And this will make sense as I go along. So the powder sandwich, essentially we're going to prep the skin, then we'll use our powders, which I'll show you how, and then we're going to spray it with a setting spray. Those two moisture barriers on the bottom of the powder and on the top help to really kind of mitigate any dusty or powdery finish with the powder on, but you still get that longevity, the airbrush finish, more of a flawless looking pour, you get less creasing. I feel like it's the key. So let me show you this in action. To prep the skin, it's really important, again, assess your own situation. You got to figure out, what have you noticed about powder that you don't love? Have you noticed that it does feel a little bit drying on the skin? If so, you got to amp up your prep products and make things a little more hydrating so that when you do use powder, it has something to absorb into. If you notice that the powder just kind of dissipates into the skin, maybe you have oily skin, and in that case, you can adjust this product or the way you prep your skin in that manner as well. So if you kind of know that my skin gets oily throughout the day, maybe back up on the super emollient moisturizers, but if you're like, no, at the end of the day, I feel more dry, you can amp it up a little bit. That's also something to think about. Think about the long term, okay? Because I feel like a lot of people get really scared with powders, especially up front when you first finish your makeup. But you've got to know how your skin reacts to makeup throughout the day in order to maximize the results that you're going to get, if that makes sense. Like, you've got to really understand your own skin type. So for me, I do have more of an oily T-zone and I get dry on the sides of the face. I'm going to go for a little bit more of an emollient, super hydrating moisturizer today just to kind of get my point across a little bit more. I normally just go with a basic moisturizer. Sometimes I just go into foundation right after my skincare, depending on the day. Today I'm going to use the Embryolisse Lake Cream Concentrate. If you're a dry skin girly and you love wearing makeup, I highly recommend checking this out. This is one of the most popular, just basic facial moisturizers that's so good for underneath makeup. It's really special and it just works really well. I like to put the most moisturizer on the driest areas of my face. So I start on the cheeks, and then I take what's left and I move that into the T-zone. Don't forget around the eye area. If you would like to use a more specific cream for around the eyes, you can pick an eye cream. I really love the Bobbi Brown vitamin enriched eye cream for underneath makeup, but just use whatever you have. It's not always about the exact products to use as much as it is deciding which types of products you need. You can find the same types of products at many different price points. You've just really got to know what your specific skin needs are and what your desired effect is for the end of the day. We are gonna let that sink into the skin. This is where you could maybe add a little bit of like a gripping primer or something like that. But again, if you're worried about your powders looking dry, I would honestly just keep it simple and stick to whatever moisturizer suits your skin. Now we go in with more cream products. So we've prepped. I'm gonna go in with foundation today. I'm just gonna use this Laura Mercier Real Flawless Foundation. And I'm going to first apply this with a brush. You can use your fingers or whatever. So I'm just buffing that out all over the skin. But I will say something that does make an incredible difference with powder. If you do not have this in your routine and you want to make your powders look better, you need a beauty sponge, okay? Like you can find many different types of beauty sponges. This one's the original Beauty Blender, but I will have a few of my favorites linked down below. I'm gonna press this into the skin. You can obviously use this for all your cream products too, which is so nice. But you guys know I love to use a sponge after powder, and I feel like it really makes the biggest difference. So I'll show you exactly how I do that once we get to those steps. I'm just gonna go ahead and add more cream products. So let me pop on some concealer, and then I'm actually gonna go into a little cream bronzer after this as well, and then we can get into our setting powder. When it comes to creasing, especially if you have more mature skin, I would recommend trying little tiny layers, and this is not just for people with mature skin, this is for anyone, but smaller layers really help. And powder still does matter in that case. You may have to adjust the amount of powder that you use depending on how much your skin is changing. And this can include the way that it changes in certain weather conditions, or as we age, the texture of our skin completely changes. So it's good to just experiment with the products that you have and make adjustments accordingly, knowing what your skin is like. Because ultimately, you know your skin best, you know what products work best, and you know what products you don't love on your skin. So just take note of those things and adjust this sandwich routine accordingly. For me, I find that I don't get too much creasing at the moment, so I feel like I can wear a little more concealer under my eyes. I like to have a little more powder personally, because I do get more oily in the T-zone, so that's why you see me pressing powder into this area and then doing a light dusting on the outside of the face just to make sure I have longevity. Okay, I've added my cream bronzer. Today I used the Mario one, and then I'm taking my sponge and just pressing around the edges, and now we're ready for powder. I have one powder recommendation that I feel like would work on absolutely everybody. However, I will have a couple more options linked down below for you guys, but you know, if we were sitting next to each other doing a one-on-one situation, I would most likely recommend this powder to you. This is the Huda Beauty Easy Bake Loose Baking and Setting Powder. This is my favorite setting powder. I feel like a little goes a long way, but you still get such a beautiful effect. And even if you want to bake a little bit or have a little bit more powder in certain areas, it never looks dry or powdery. I love it. You guys know. Here's where you're gonna have to assess your own situation. Before you set any areas on the face, you wanna kind of buff out or tap away any product that's settled into any fine lines. If you go ahead and pack powder on top of already creased makeup, you're just gonna lock in the creases, if that makes sense. So I'll show you on this eye. I just take my pinky finger, honestly, and just kind of like buff away any settling that we have. And then I'll take this brush and lightly press this underneath the eyes. Again, a little goes a long way. But this powder is so important to keeping your concealer locked in place and to keeping things looking really, really smooth. You guys also probably know that I love to use a puff. I feel like sometimes it is easy to go a little more overboard with a puff, so let me show you my trick. This one is from Beauty Blender. It's my all-time favorite puff, but they do make really great ones on Amazon as well, which I will link down below. I just get a little powder in here, and instead of going directly on the eyes, you want to really control the amount of powder you're applying. So I take it and I kind of like buff it into my hand. Not only does that get that really evenly dispersed into the puff, but it also gets rid of any extra powder that I don't want. So same thing, I look in the mirror, tap away any creasing, and then I'll take the puff with the powder, and this time I'm gonna kind of press and roll this all throughout the under eye area, and I love to get right here because this is where I have larger pores. So I just kind of like push that into the skin, And again, since you already have the moisture layer underneath, the powder just kind of like sinks into the skin if you have your skin prepped properly. I honestly already see a difference with the puff, just if you want that airbrushed look. A lot of people ask me like how skin, and I feel like this is my secret. But then the same people are afraid of powder. So I'm like, you gotta just kind of do these extra steps, which might seem like overwhelming at first, but I promise it's really, really easy once you get the hang of it. I'm just going in with my powder puff and I'm gently pressing around any areas that I know where my skin gets oily throughout the day. So again, this is where it's really important to kind of like take note. You can literally make a note on your phone or on a piece of paper or whatever. Like watch how your skin reacts to makeup throughout the day. Take notes at the end of the day and figure out what areas are more oily, what areas feel more dry, and then prep and like set the makeup accordingly. You can totally leave the sides of the face without powder if the sides of your face feel super dry no matter what. This is where you've got to, so even if I have more dry areas on the face, I still set my face with a little bit of powder. And then when I set the face, which you guys will see as well, I find that it really just kind of like rehydrates that area, but allows me to get all the benefits of the powders that I love. So I'm just pressing this in my forehead as well. For me, I get oily right here a lot, so I like to press powder there. I find that my makeup breaks up a lot on the side of my nose, so I press that into the skin. I crease a lot in my smile lines, so sometimes I like stick my tongue in my cheek like this and then press the powder in there. It's hard to talk and do that, but you get what I'm saying. And then I'll take a fluffy brush because for me, even if I don't get super oily, I like longevity on my cheeks, so I'll take a fluffy brush and just tap a little bit of powder into the skin. And if this makes you feel like the powder is floating on top of the skin, that's where your beauty sponge comes into play again. Take your beauty sponge and just lightly tap those powders into the skin. The sponge is also going to pick up any excess powders, but mostly what it's going to do is push those powders into the moisturizer and the foundation or whatever cream products you've got underneath and just make it look velvety, not dusty. Just like that. If you've never done this before, like I feel like this is one of the major key players here as well. Second to the sandwich situation. So prepping, then the powder, then the setting, and then using your sponge in between the layers. I'm telling you, it's a game changer. Like truly, it really is. Okay, I'm just gonna do a quick little 5-minute face here, adding a little more powder bronzer. That's actually another good point, is another reason why I personally really like to set the outside of my face is because I like to layer cream and powder, and I find that if I've got a little bit of powder dusted on the outside of my face, my powder bronzer just blends in way more smooth, and it's less likely to kind of skip or grab onto any cream or too hydrated areas. So it just overall looks more seamless. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. Maybe you don't use a cream bronzer, then you might powder and then go into a powder bronzer, or maybe you only use a cream bronzer, in which case you can just adjust this accordingly, but this is just my personal routine. I wanted to give one of these new Glow Bomb shades a go. I love this formula from Kylie Cosmetics, and I just bought all of the new shades she launched, which is kind of wild of me, but I really want to try like this mauve color. This is another great tip if you're worried about your powders looking powdery. Try applying a more cream blush on top. You guys know I love the Bobbi Brown cream blushes. These are also amazing as well. That's just going to kind of add back a little bit more of that balmy finish that you might be looking for without compromising your makeup sliding off all day or like the other areas of your face not having longevity, like maybe your under eye area or whatever. So I'm just going to tap this into the cheeks as my blush today. This is like more of a mauve color. This is called Moody Energy. I'm just going to flip my sponge over and just soften the edges of that blush a little bit. While I have that Glow Bomb, I'm just going to line my lips with this lip liner. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Love Trap lip liner. And then I'm going to try this Moody Energy color on the lips. So I'm just going to press that into the center. Ooh, that looks so pretty on the lips. I love that. We're going to do just an easy eye look today with bronzer all the way around the eyes and then a little bit of an eye topper. I'm going to use this Kaja one today. Let's add a little mascara. Today I'm going to use the Give mascara. Okay, so I have powder all over my face. I even have it pressed into the T-zone, but because I prep the skin properly, you can't even tell already. Like, the powders have melted into the moisturizer and the cream foundation. Also, having a little bit more of a cream blush really helps to kind of balance the effect and keep things looking more skin-like. To really make sure that you are guaranteed to not look cakey and powdery when you are wearing a setting powder, setting spray is so key. I have a personal favorite. I recommend this one to everyone. But again, this is where you've got to kind of assess your own situation and figure out when you use setting spray, or if you have used setting spray in the past, how does your skin look and feel by the end of the night? And do you want to change the effect? And then change the formula accordingly. So, for example, if you find that your skin still looks super oily, you might want to go for like a more long-lasting setting spray. The one size setting spray is like hairspray for your face. So if you have a really hard time keeping your makeup lasting long for oily skin, that's what I would recommend. On the flip side, if you find that at the end of the day, you're like, my face feels so dry, like I just want to splash water on my face, I would go for something more hydrating, even down to like a MAC Fix Plus, something that might not have as much longevity to it, but that's gonna have a little more of like a glycerin feel to it, so it's gonna really hydrate your skin and also tone down any powdery finish whatsoever. This to me is a really nice happy medium. You get crazy longevity, but you also kind of get that little burst of hydration, and then it locks in and leaves your skin looking more dewy, but not too dewy. This I found works best for my skin type, so I'm gonna wear this today. This is where we like to assess the situation though, because we're gonna set the face, and after we set it, I really don't wanna worry about it. So I'm just adding any more product. This is also a great time to assess even the powder situation, and you can take your powder puff and kind of press into areas that you feel like you want to look more smooth or whatever. Now, here's where things get wild too. I don't think people use enough setting spray, especially if you're worried about looking powdery and if you've used powders. You gotta like low-key drench your face, okay? Don't be shy, and it's not gonna ruin your makeup, okay? You do want to make sure you find a setting spray that has a good mist though, because sometimes if it spits at you, that can be harder to come back from. But anyway, let's spray this. You'll see I'm really going ham. And then I'm not going to move. I'm not going to smile. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm just going to let it kind of start to sink into the skin, start to absorb into those powders. And then once I feel like it's starting to absorb, this is my special trick as well. If you guys watch my videos at all, you'll know this already. Take your sponge and gently press the setting spray into the powder, and then the powder is going to be pressed into the moisturizer, and you literally, it looks like skin all over again, except it's got crazy longevity. You look way more flawless than you would have with bare skin, for example, but you can see like the finish looks very skin-like now, but I'm not compromising longevity whatsoever. In fact, I find that it wears even better when I drench the face in setting spray than when I don't. If you're somebody who gets extra oily in a certain area, this is where you can actually go a step further and do like a double sandwich situation where you add a little more powder back into those areas of concern after setting spray. But do it while the setting spray is still drying down, because then the powder absorbs on the other side of the setting spray and kind of like sinks into the skin while it dries down. I'm going to go ahead and set the brows with the Anastasia Clear Brow Gel to lock those in place. I'm going to add just a little hint of Dahlia onto the lips. I just need a little hydration today. And there you have it, my friends. That is how you can wear powder, not be afraid of it, get all the benefits from it, but not just that, but improve the overall look of your makeup. I feel like it really makes such a difference. It just smooths everything out. You get more longevity out of it. It looks more flawless in person. But if you do these steps, I promise you, it's gonna look so natural still. And I feel like that's where people get really scared. Like nobody wants to look dusty, crepey, cakey, okay? So try this with the setting spray. Again, making sure that each of those products fit your skin type, fit what you're looking for. I promise you, it's gonna really up your makeup game. you're gonna be shocked because this literally is my secret. I don't know. I feel like it's honestly the thing that makes my makeup look and wear differently than the people in my personal life, because most people just are too afraid to use powder or aren't sure how exactly to use it or haven't practiced enough with it, whatever it might be. So I hope this helps somebody out there, and I would love to hear if you've got any other tips and tricks when it comes to powder. If you've got a certain skin type that's maybe different than mine, and you have a certain powder or setting spray or prep product that you love and you found that work really well for your skin type, feel free to share that in the comments down below. We're all here to help each other. I'd like to see me do in the future. I have a few other ideas of what I could possibly do with this type of feel to it, because I've noticed the same types of products people are a little afraid to use, or they're not sure if it makes that much of a difference. And I feel like the opposite, where some of those products I feel like make the biggest difference in your final result with your makeup, but also in the longevity and in your confidence with how your makeup's gonna wear. So that's it for me today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope it was helpful to you, and I hope you learned something. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe before you go, and I hope you have an amazing day wherever you are, and I will see you in my next video. Love you. Bye.